All right, FTFers, it's the big day. Look at what we got. That's right, the final version of the Greyman knife. The collaboration between Fuel the Fires and William Collins Knives right here. Stay tuned, we're gonna tell you all about it. All right, guys, so I'm here with my good friends. I got Mike Simmons, we got Blackie Thomas, and we've got Mr. William Collins as well. We're going to tell you everything about this knife from the origin story to where we are today. But before we get going, Blackie, I want you to have this knife. So William, Mike, Denny, me, Chris Hall, Jonathan, and Steve, we all put in for you to have this knife.
Well, thank you very much.
We just wanted to pay you the respect you deserve. Thanks for being with us today, and we hope you enjoy the knife. But you're going to have to talk about it.
Okay.
Is what you're going to end up having to do.
No pressure. Here's your knife. Now let's talk about it.
Now, on top of that, we have made it where the Kydex sleeve is actually an option. So those of you at home, the first orders are going to start November 1st.
November 1st, yeah, on my website, Shop Knives webpage. Yeah.
And you will have the option of getting the Kydex sleeve, or we have lots of other options as well
that we will talk about in a minute.
That we're going to talk about, but this one is for you as well. So you already have two options for your Greyman knife.
I want to whop y'all. Okay, well, thank you. That is awesome.
You need a hanky?
I need a hanky.
Yeah,
I'm having a tearful moment. Oh my God.
Makeup.
We're very grateful for the partnership and all the support that you've given us over the years and the connections that you've helped us make. So it's just a token of our appreciation and respect for you. Hope you enjoy it.
I really will. This is a great knife design.
And for those of you that don't know, Blackie Thomas was actually the first person that I subscribed to on YouTube. And here we are today. So it's my honor just to be able to sit here with you.
I'm going to whop you guys. I really am. Okay. Now, can we talk about the knife?
We can absolutely talk about the knife. I think before we start, though, we should talk about the origin story of how this came into being. So the way it started was I made a comment on one of William's videos, and he ended up actually calling me, and I had to put him on mute because I screamed. I was so excited because he asked me, you know, hey, let's design a knife. And I cannot tell you how excited I was. And then he told me that he had to go take some knives out of the kiln. And so I called my good buddy Mike Simmons here, and I was like, dude, you're not gonna believe this. William Collins just called me. I gave him some preliminary stuff. We're in the process of doing a knife, and then William called back. So it ended up being a three-way conversation between the three of us. And I kind of want to just kind of talk about like what went into the design process a little bit. So for me, like a little backstory with me, there are basically 4 knives that I've used for years and years and years, and I liked features of them, but not a single one of these knives worked perfectly for everything that I needed to do. So one of them is the PR4 by Essie. It's a Kephart style blade, but I could find things wrong with it. It just wasn't big enough for me. The handle was too thin. It didn't have a bow drill divot. There were just parts of it I didn't like. The sheath wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. And then I had a Condor bush lore, which was my very first bushcraft knife. And I've had a lot of really expensive bushcraft knives over the years, but I just always loved that knife. It was just a simple knife. And I really think Joe Flowers is an awesome designer. He's also another good friend of mine as well. And he also helped design the Tops Bob, the Fieldcraft knife that Tops has. And I really liked that knife. It was a great hunting knife. I liked the features that it had on it, but there again, it just didn't have everything I wanted. The bow drill divots weren't deep enough. That was a big problem for me. The jimping was too aggressive. The handle didn't fit my hand just right. And I really hated that scraper thing on the back, the extended pommel idea that they had for that. It just didn't work for me. And eventually I moved my way up to a Survive GSO 5.1. And one of the features that I absolutely loved about that knife was the hidden lanyard feature that it came with. But that knife was just a little bit too big for me. And so what I had communicated to William was, I was like, look, I want to take the best features of all of these knives and I want to put it together into one package, because what I really want is a true Fieldcraft knife, something that I don't have to switch back and forth from bushcraft, survival, hunting, self-defense, and even food prep. Because each one of those knives did something in those categories well, but not all of them did all of the categories. And so that is where this came from. So after a few discussions with Mike and me and William started drawing knives, sending us pictures back and forth. And next thing you know, in a day,
in the same telephone, we was actually on a video conference, and I was sketching as they were talking, and we talked about the sweep, we talked about the belly, we talked about the tip. I mean, every aspect of this knife was discussed in that teleconference or video conference, and as they were talking, I was sketching.
Now, how good was that for you as a knife maker, where you had somebody that knew what they wanted, the features and why they wanted it?
Yeah.
Normally when somebody contacts you, a lot of times they're asking, they don't have a clue what they really want. Having a designer that had a actual living design, the two of y'all collaborating, that's unique today. That really is.
Yeah, it really is. And it was actually, it came together very quickly because these guys knew exactly what they needed and wanted. And so basically my job was to interpret what they were telling me. And so.
Now we did also go through an R&D process as well, which y'all got to see some of that in previous videos. And I probably need to do a disclaimer. You should not do the things that you saw me do in those videos. I was pushing the knife to the utmost limit, and something that Simmons talks about is having a buffer of adequacy built into a tool.
Right.
Is that something you want to elaborate on real quick?
Well, a lot of times people try to run with the absolute bare minimum. There's this craze of how little can I get by with, and I don't roll out like that. I don't recommend anybody does, because what that does is if you have to press the tool into service or press it into duty, something that is a little bit above what its normal duty cycle would be, then all of a sudden you have this critical failure and everything. So we try to build in a buffer of adequacy. 550 cord will only support 550 pounds one time, and then it's done. And so we established what are the parameters of how we're going to use this thing before we even set into the design. And so that establishes what our design parameters are. What do we want out of this thing? And then plus an extra 25% more.
Right.
So instead of 1/8 inch, we went with the 4mm. And things like that to give us that, so that we're not damaging the tool in its normal duty cycle. We're not stressing it beyond its capabilities, just trying to do everyday tasks with it.
Yeah, so that was like super critical to us, and it wasn't just that as well. It was the materials and all of the features. And the thing is, it may look like it's a simple knife, but all of the features have come from oh my God experience.
Well, every knife I've ever bought, I've had to modify in some way, and it's always this constant search of trying to find not necessarily the perfect knife, but the knife that fits what you do with it in the woods.
Right.
And so it's something to fit your style. And so I never found one that had everything. This was the first time we had the opportunity to not only get everything we wanted, but to eliminate everything we didn't need.
Right.
And so this is a honed down, like Blackie says, this is a focused tool. And then you become the multi-tool based on what you can do with it as your skills develop.
Now I think since we have William with us, you want to talk about the features of the blade specifically, so I'm not the one just running my mouth on this video.
Well, what they chose was a high saber, which is a very it's beneficial in a lot of ways. It has slicing ability, but yet it has strength. It, a lot of people for bushcraft, they'll want a Scandi blade, which Scandi is a great wood processing knife, but it's not so much good as far as kitchen prep and things like that.
Meat prep and stuff.
Meat prep, game prep, hunting, things like that you're actually going to do in a true survival situation. But so a saber grind is a very good medium grind for that multi-purpose task. My edges are thinner. The apex is a little bit thinner for slicing ability, for a lot of your carving, wood processing task, as far as a very thin apex and a very fine edge. The steel that they chose was AEBL, and I have been a proponent of AEBL for many years. If you look at the lab results of AEBL compared to a lot of the other steels, it is very high up on that rating, and it's a very affordable steel. It's give you an example, CPM 3V, everybody's aware of how tough that steel is. The rating on 3V is about 9, and the rating on AEBL is 9 as well. So it's as tough as 3V in a lab situation. So it takes a very fine edge. It's razor blade steel, so it means it'll take a very fine edge and it'll hold that edge. And Blackie was part of a test group that we did when we was testing the AEBL to go to a WCSK, which was another design I did several years ago. And but we wanted to make sure that the steel was adequate for a large knife. So I had Blackie and the late Dan Lutz was part of the test group, and a few others, and to make sure that steel held that fine of an edge as I put on knives and do what we wanted in a survival knife. And again, it exceeded all of our expectations.
Yes.
Matter of fact, head to head, when you're going with our 01 compared to AEBL, it held the edge about 30% longer than 01, and yet it sharpened at about the same amount of strokes.
Yes.
It came back to hair popping sharp in that time. So it's a very unique steel. It's probably one of my favorites out of all the steels that I've done. It is at least in my top 2 or 3 steels to work, to use. You know, I could use any steel in the world, and my personal knives are AEBL. So
also they're easy to take care of in austere environments, right? With stainless, you know, because I could be in brackish water, salt water. I could be up in the north. I could be in the eastern woodlands. I don't know where I'm going to be at any given time, and I don't want to have to worry about that.
It can get blood on it,
Blood,
guts on it, whatever, because you get stomach acid. You're having to clean because whatever.
Yep.
It's not going to deteriorate. It's not going to rust on you. It's not going to pit on you.
Right.
Things like that. I love my Blackbird in AEBL. It's my favorite knife. It holds an edge. It sharpens easier to me. It's less effort. I've had those knives that were super hard stuff, and yeah, man, you could cut anything with it, but it took a half a day to sharpen it.
right?
When you go to sharpen AEBL, it's like it's dead soft steel. It's just almost effortless. A couple of strokes, and it comes right back.
Yep. And it gives you the option too, you know, like we're talking about the toothy grind versus a razor's edge. It does both of those well.
very well.
The
You know, and
robust
that's pretty
edge
rare.
and the fine razor. It'll do both.
So depending on how you like to run yours, and this is one aspect of a custom knife. So we're trying to present a intuitive platform that it's a custom knife, but part of the custom process is you customizing it to what you want to do with it in your daily tasks. And so if you prefer that toothy grind, you know, I typically don't like a razor's edge on everything that I do.
Like a robust
we
edge.
call it a working edge or utility
Working
edge, something
edge,
like that. And so you have that option with this steel to do either one.
But something you pointed out, once, even though it holds that edge better than anything, it takes such a fine edge. Even when it's getting what we'd call a little bit dull, it still keeps cutting.
Yeah, it does.
It
Matter
never
of fact,
binds up.
In my R&D phase, when I was testing AEBL, I harvested a couple of hogs, wild hogs, and everybody knows that's dealt with hogs how gritty that skin is and how it will dull a knife in a heartbeat. But the AEBL, even though it wasn't hair popping sharp, about halfway through that process, it still cut like it was very sharp. So it's a very unusual steel. Out of all the steel I've done, I've been very impressed with AEBL.
It never feels like it got dull. It just takes a little more effort to cut.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
not
always
like,
still sliced.
It's not like you're trying to drag it through it. It just, you feel more resistance.
Now, part of
That's
it too, though, is also his grind angles.
Oh,
Let's
it's
talk
grind
about
angle
that.
perfect.
The 12 to 13 degree grind angles that I do it's a very fine edge. It's a low apex. It slices it, you know, but in addition to that, you have to have a very spot on heat treat, and I heat treat everything in my own shop personally. And so I have kilns, I have cryo tanks, So everything is done by hand by me as far as the heat treat process, so that I know that each one is tested after that process and it achieves that Rockwell hardness that we're looking for. But again, you know, Rockwell hardness is just a check. It's really not, doesn't tell you how the steel performed during the heat treat process. So, you know, it's just one of those checks. But the whole process from start to finish is all part of the design. It's part of the knife.
Mm-hmm. And obviously we wanted full tang, and we wanted the extended pommel. And we wanted a 90-degree spine. And we wanted bow drill divots on both sides for you righties and lefties.
Mm-hmm. The point in the center line of the knife, you know, that's
critical
for boring.
So
turning.
That even if you're a novice, when you pick this thing up, it's going to be comfortable for you to use. It's going to be intuitive, and you'll be able to pick it up and work with it because you expect the ergonomics and the way that your hand is designed and everything. Everybody knows, like Dan used to say, everybody knows where their index finger is, and so there's a certain thing, like you would instinctively know where the point of that knife is. You know.
Well, I mean, the design of the knife is their blade sweep, their point, centerline point. All of this was the vision that they gave me. The handle, I mean, it's what I've been known for, I guess, as far as handles. It's a what I call the wide Coke mouth Coke bottle, wide mouth Coke bottle. It's very ergonomical. When even in the dark, you know where that knife blade is.
You know where the edge is just by how you're holding it.
Right, and it's like as Blackie says, a 4 or 5 position handle, because you can choke up on it if you watch what you're doing. Choke up on it and change the balance of that knife. What some would consider a large knife actually becomes a short 4-inch blade. Then your standard grip, then you're out here, and it's almost like a machete. So, you know, it's a very versatile design of what these guys envision, and hopefully I interpreted it well.
No, you did very well.
It's great. It's got, so, you know, we've checked it out. I think it weighs about 11 ounces, and it may have, in appearance, look like a large knife, but it handles like a small knife because of the balance of it.
The balance is right there. I mean,
and
so
it's
when you're up
very
here, you're right.
When you cinch it up and put the 2 fingers at the top of the grip to use just the tip for tip detail, it feels like you're holding a 3-inch knife.
Right. Yeah.
You don't feel the weight of that handle back there. It just disappears. But when you go to the base of the handle and stick your finger through the lanyard back there, that gives you where I need to cut this off, you know, like a vine or something.
Yep.
It gives you speed and chopping ability like a machete.
And so it
I
has,
use the pinky, the pinky lanyard, as some say I don't need that, but you don't need it until you use it. You realize how useful it is.
Yeah.
But it still will fold out of the way too. Like on my knife, if you wanted to, you know, crush up some shells, or there was shellfish, or you know, whatever it is that you gotta kill the zombie.
Yeah.
With
think
it,
it's
you
a
can
good
still
balance.
do that.
It really is.
It's a good balance. It has heft but doesn't feel heavy.
Another feature too, y'all can see is the scallop here, because we designed it so that you can use it as a draw card, or that you can also use it as a draw knife.
Yeah, that spine is very sharp. Somebody had mentioned that you could probably cut something with the spine if you drug it across you, because that's sharp.
I think wasn't it Jim Bowie that said the false edge on the back of the Bowie knife should be just as sharp as the front edge?
Probably
I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well, that spine is sharp. I mean, it'll leave a shower of sparks.
Well, now that's one of the things I really like, because in handling it, you got that good 90-degree spine all the way up here to the tip, which that allows you, like you said, you can sit there and use it as a planer to get wood down flat.
Yep.
You turn around, you've got enough blade to you can safely grip it for that draw knife where I'm making a spear point or whatever. I've got to make something sharp on fairly hard wood. I've got to trim it down this way. That 90-degree you got on that back there. I know you're not a fan of it, but you can use that as a fire.
Well, I'm a fan of this one. I didn't like the way that it was beveled on the Tops knife. Like this one doesn't have a bevel. It's straight 90.
This one I can put my ferro rod down there. I know. Push down into. I'm gonna move my finger out the blade. You got plenty of Band-Aids.
I know how sharp that knife is.
You got plenty of Band-Aids. And you ain't can get a good solid shower of sparks.
And we can't forget the finger choil, or the knife choil for the blade.
It's got the choil right there, and that keeps it from cracking and failing. Any kind of knife that's got a good thin edge going to that 90, it's going to fail there. This knife has got that relief cut there that prevents that. That will take that shock wave when you do have to hit something, and that power's running down that blade before it makes the transition to the handle. It needs that relief cut to break that shock wave so that it will not snap off. But on the handle, you notice there's a jimp on the back here. That's perfect for that meaty part of your hand to roll into. Like William was saying, even if you can't see the edge, because you got to reach under here and cut something, by the shape of the handle, you can tell exactly where that edge is.
Good purchase on it.
Good purchase. You got the thumbs where you can bear down and work. Go up high on it like that for detail work with just a tip.
Or even
some of the video that I was doing, I was making curls, and I could actually look away.
And curl, because you
when
know
you can
exactly
do that,
where the tip.
like you know where that knife is.
Yeah.
You know.
And then I like you know, you said, the bow drills on both sides, and this is something, guys, that I've seen, not on this, but on other knives, where it'll be like that, and they're holding a sharp knife to their wrist and trying to do a bow drill, and that binds, whatever, you got a sharp edge right there. I would want it away from me. So this one gives you the both options. So if I'm left-handed, I can go that way, or right-handed.
Or as well, like something that was really important to me was the sheath option itself, because let's say that you're not comfortable doing that, you can still use the bow drill divot with the sheath on in either position as well. Now this will be an option. It won't come with the knife, but you can order it for $50.
You can add it to the order.
And then you would just have to add a tech lock to it if you want to wear it, you know, scout carry or cross draw or even strong side if you want to, the pattern that he's put into the Kydex sleeve. But that was just really important to me because I wanted something slick.
And I think that's a good opportunity to talk about the size of the knife too. And so there's a lot of people that are going to say, well, it needs an extra ½ inch, or it's a ½ inch too long or something like that. But what we've got is the maximum length that is concealable under your clothing in either scout carry or cross draw or something like that. So it's the most capability that we could get you, but still be concealable underneath your jacket or something.
Yeah, like I'm wearing mine right now.
And
underneath it, I'm not
you
printing.
Can't even see it. If we went any bigger, then we're going to start having concealment issues and things like that, and usability issues. The longer the knife gets, the more unwieldy it gets.
In my experience, I found that is the perfect size, because when you go a little bit longer, yeah, you gain a little bit, but you also lose a little bit, because now it's a little too awkward. When you're trying to do woodcraft carving, the big knife is actually awkward. You can't do the turns and the curls because it's got this big blade out here.
Right.
So
everything's a trade-off.
Like he's showing now, where you choke up on it. That's the perfect size, because I want my wrist against the end of the handle, so it's like locked. I don't want to be out on a bare blade. I ain't got a good grip. I want that stop of that handle against my wrist to know my exact location. So yeah.
Another thing that we have not talked about is the composition of the handle itself. I really wanted my Carta just because all the environments I'm in nasty stuff.
It's bomb-proof.
It's bomb-proof when it comes to that, and you won't burn through it with the bow drill divot, which I've shown y'all in previous videos. But one thing that I really like about this my Carta setup, or his bow drill divot, is, I'm gonna try to show y'all this, but look how deep it is.
It's actually a double drill. It's two different drills.
Yeah, two drills. I don't know if y'all can see that in the screen, but can they see that? Right here? That was critical for me when I was working with Less Than Ideal Resources when I did that survival challenge, because the spindle itself wanted to jump on me, but the knife kept it going, and I had no friction.
Well, if I may, let me talk about the handle for a moment. The handle, I mean, like I said, the handle was primarily one of my designs, or I'd say my designs, because it's probably out there somewhere else. But it's one of those that I developed for me, because my Carta is probably my preferred, or is my preferred material because it is tough as nails. I mean, this stuff, if you leave it unpolished, which I do, it's more of a bead blasted finish or a texture grip. You have a very firm purchase on it. I also like very thick, beefy handles. I have large hands, so I want something that I can grab for an extended period of time. Thinner handles, sometimes you get cramps because you're all constantly squeezing that knife to feel that handle. When you have larger or more width in your handle, then it fills your hand up and you're not constantly squeezing that handle to feel that knife. The other thing is a control knife is a safe knife. As a safety factor, you want to have complete control of that blade. And if the handle is round where you can't control that blade, it could get away from you and get into you because you're not going to cut yourself on purpose. You know, an accident.
Although we have seen somebody do it before.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut myself on purpose.
Yeah.
So I do it enough accidentally. But anyway, so the handle has contours to help control and grip that knife blade. So,
Tactile feedback.
Yes.
yes.
It's got enough grip that even when your hands are cold, a little wet, a little
Wearing
sweaty,
gloves.
Yep.
even gloves, you've
Yep.
got a good grip. You know it's not going to slip. And at the same time, it's also slick enough I can shift my hand, and it doesn't rub hot spots or leave a pattern in your hand when
Right.
you let go of it.
Yeah.
You know, it makes a difference to me.
And then also another reason we did that was because, you know, I like the old Ontario knives and I could fit it to my hand, right? Like I could contour the handles out to fit my hand. And so, you know, if you want to, there's still material there that you can remove to make it fit your hand.
It's very
if
easy.
you have a preference
It's very easy
to do that.
to adjust it to your preference.
Right.
It really is.
And then we went with the red flare here on the liners, just because it's Fuel to Fire's red and black. Those are our colors. And so he added in the pins for us as well, which are G10.
Yeah.
And also, they show up if you drop it in the leaves.
If you
or
drop it in the
something. You
leaves,
spot it,
you can see it.
you know.
We're
what you
saying
did.
our age now, Blackie.
Well, you know, we don't live in snow country,
Yeah.
heavy snow
That's
country.
true.
Yeah.
But the fact is, you're in deep snow and you drop that sharp pointy knife and it'll go, boom.
It'll go tip first every
Yep.
time.
You know, it'll be 3 foot down.
Yep.
You know, at
It
least
is.
it gives you some definition to see besides just
What we call it's gone as last year's Easter egg.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Blackie, why don't you, you know, you didn't have anything to do with the actual design process itself.
No.
This is the finished product. Like, we want your honest
Okay.
Yeah.
opinion
Scoot
of
up.
the blade
Good
and
up,
what you
closer
think.
to there.
All right. It fits the hand perfectly. When I open my hand up like that, I've got a little bit of nub on this side. Close over it. The swell fits your finger. Yes?
Let me just do a comparison.
Yeah.
Because I have large hands, and Blackie has not
Medium
so large
size.
hands.
Medium size hand. See, I leave, there's a
And
gap
I
in
have-
And
there.
then look at these hands here.
I have double XL hands.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
try to make a handle that's going to fit a
A wide
majority of
variety. You know, this would work for the younger crowd. This would work for a woman. Could also use this knife. It's not too big or broad. I like the palm swelling here that fills the hand. That allows you to relax them muscles a little bit when you're doing a lot of cutting, butchering an animal or something like that. A lot of crafts in the bushcraft. You're going to use this first straight inch or so right here for your lot of your draw cuts and your push cuts. Very comfortable. I like the fact that the way it tapers down for your thumb on either side would be a natural purchase onto it. You go to the uppercut and roll your fingers around, you can choke it up and use just the tip for detail work. 90-degree spine. I can plane very easily, and I can also turn around and draw knife. Hold on, let me
How dare they mess up our interview?
They just don't know who we are.
All right. Floridians.
get it. So, then we've got the 90-degree spine, which is going to be great for fire prepping, etc. The tip, center line for bearing down and drilling, making holes for like bow drill sets, etc. Also, I like a center line tip for starting when I'm doing my starting cuts and stuff. I don't like an upswept tip. I like a center line tip for pushing in when I'm going to be processing game and things like that. The fact that the tip rolls up means that I can pierce in underneath the hide and then go onto this nice broad bevel and slide it to skin with. It'll roll the meat, the fur will roll up on that taper and just act like a zipper,
Deer
and I can
season's
unzip
right
it.
around the corner.
Exactly. Perfect. Love it. Now, let's talk about the other sheath they're talking about. This is a Randy Smith of StitchGear.com's. Does he have a name for that version?
No, not yet, because he was still in the prototype phase as well.
Okay, now what this gives you all the advantages of, one, it's a good heavy leather sheath. You do have a loop right here to carry your ferrule rod on. The knife fits in and has good security and purchase. It's not going to come out of there unless you really, you've got a belt loop, so I can hang it off my belt. Also, he will be making a dangler.
A dangler to go with it.
Danglers are great in the winter because you're going to be wearing a great big coat. You need to move it further out where you can get to it. It has this loop on it that you can pass your belt under for small of the back carry. You can pass it through this way, through this loop, to be diagonal on the hip for this way. The guys like to carry it for the urban gray man, carrying it underneath like he
or
has,
appendix carry.
where it's out of sight. This will be very rock solid and secure to carry and be a very safe carry method. I'm not going to have to worry about it getting wet. It'll be fine. This leather will handle it. They'll last a lifetime. The knife sits deep enough into it that I can grab it and easily pull it, but it's not something that's going to be bumped easy and come out.
It wet forms very, very nicely.
It wet forms very well
if
to
you
this.
want to wet form it to your own knife.
So this will do all of the functions. This will be an excellent bushcraft knife. This will be an excellent survival knife. It's thick enough. It's got enough backbone. You can bear down on it. Don't ever use a knife for a pry bar, but in real life, there's going to be situations where this is what I got, and I've got to bear down. This is the only thing I got that can do this. It's got enough beef in it. It's going to handle it. Yet, like you was talking about that saber grind, this blade is going to cut well for meat. You can make a sandwich with this. You can slice vegetables with this.
Tomatoes.
Yes, a lot of them
Potatoes,
big
steak.
survival knives try to slice a tomato with it and just mash it. It can't cut it. But this saber and that angle that William puts onto it, it will just cut like a laser. Being the fact it's AEBL, which is a form of stainless, it's a razor blade. It will hold an edge extremely well. It'll get a lot sharper to me. And I've got a Williams knife in 01. That was my original prototype. Then I've got my Blackbird in ABL. ABL gets a lot sharper.
Yeah, it does.
You can get it scary sharp where you just touch and the stuff flies off of you. But that robust edge, like we like to keep our knives, because I'm doing woodworking, I may have to pick up a piece of gnarly oak and carve on it for whatever reason. It doesn't dull. It doesn't roll easy. And even when, like I said, it gets a little dull, it still keeps cutting. You just feel a little more resistance. But I can take a stone like the Viking stone and just hone that edge 10 or 15 strokes and it's right back cutting again. So in the field, I don't have to worry about it rusting. I don't have to worry about it dulling. It's going to be, for the Greyman type thing, great investment. So this is going to be an awesome knife. And guys, I didn't know this was coming. They set me up. Okay? Those of you that may not know my channel, I'm Blackie Thomas on YouTube.
We got to respect our elders.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
what it is.
as respect for y'all giving me this, William and y'all and everything else, I have done a year of the kukri. I'm doing a year of this. For the next year, this will be my
wow.
Oh, wow.
No way, really?
We got that on video.
Wow.
From now until my fall gathering next year.
Protect this video, Jay.
Right.
Yeah, I
Don't
know.
let it.
This will be Blackie's knife. I will take my Blackbird and I will
He's
set
going
it
to put up
aside.
the Blackbird?
No
So
way.
I will give you a year with this knife.
Okay, that's it, in film.
and give you a feedback on it.
Thank
We're
you.
going to jump cut to 2025.
Wow.
This will be the fall of 2025. This will be till fall of 2025. This is going to be my knife.
Wow.
What an honor.
This will be my only knife that I will use in anything. If it can be done with a belt knife, this will be the knife.
All right, you heard it here first. So the thing that you need to know is that pre-orders are going to start on his website November 1st.
Yes.
Right? And then we're expecting a turnaround of about what?
About 4 or 5 months. We'll be releasing them in about the spring of 25? Is that where we're at? Wow. Okay. Yeah, spring of 2025. So it's about a 4-month process to get steel. The way I do that is from the pre-orders, since it's going to be such a weight, I'll have an option of doing a 50% deposit. That way I can get all the materials and get it procured and shipped and all this other stuff, get water jet done, get handle material, which is a huge thing, and get all the materials in place so that I can start fabricating the first of the year. So look for these to be shipped out in about 4 months after the pre-orders ends.
Let me add to that, guys, for those of you that may not know. When William says he's getting water jet, this knife is not being made on a machine. They come in, they cut out the basic shape. All the grinding is done by William. This is a hand ground knife.
Yeah, this is a handmade knife.
This ain't some machine that's punching it out.
Yeah, I do everything on the knife, but set most of the handles. I have another guy that comes in and sets the handles every now and then, but pretty much every knife that you get from the WC Knife Shop, I did.
It's a custom knife.
Yeah.
It's a very well. It's handmade. We'll just put it that way.
A high quality handmade
Yeah.
knife. Yeah. So orders will start November 1st, and then he'll get to getting the materials and making the knives, and then y'all can go ahead and put down your deposit, and then you should get your knife in 4 months, probably.
Yeah,
4 or 5
I'll
months.
send out an invoice when the knife is ready to ship and to pay the balance if you elect to do the deposit.
So my one question to you three guys before we let the audience go is, my main vision at the very beginning was a true Fieldcraft knife. Like, do you feel like we've
I
accomplished
think you
that?
have. You know, I really do.
I mean, it satisfies the hunter, it satisfies the bushcrafter, the survivalist,
Kitchen prep.
kitchen prep. Which, I mean, kitchen prep is a lot of times left out of a knife, but
It
let's
should
face it,
be one of the
90%
most
of the
important
time-
aspects of it, though.
Yeah, that's key. 90% of the time, you're going to use that to slice a tomato, make a
Yeah.
sandwich. You know.
If you can't use it to process game, if you can't use it to process vegetables, where, oh, I got to go get something else, it's not that good a utility knife. It's got
And
to do
even,
everything.
you know, if you're on the ocean, crab or
Yeah.
any kind of shellfish, for example,
Yeah,
or nuts, you know,
Yeah.
cracking into nuts.
yeah. You've got to be able to use it.
Well, there you have it, guys. If you're Honey Smack digging the video, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and until next time, keep fueling those fires.